All right, welcome back, American history students. This is lesson 4 of Unit 1, and you're going to notice that these are going to be revolving around the causes of World War One. So, again, this ties back to imperialism, and you're going to notice that the United States, in their role prior to World War One, is now going to start to be in question. And again, as always, make sure you're listening for the effects of today's lesson. So here you're going to notice is solely the causes, not the effects. That'll be a later lesson. However, with this lesson, you will notice that this is world happenings. The U.S. is very little involved during this lesson. I might reference it from time to time, but please pay attention to notice our role at the very beginning of it. So why does all this matter? Is because you know that we wanted to stay neutral at the very beginning of most wars, especially this one. And you'll notice that we're kind of on the fence here because a lot of our current citizens are immigrants and they are coming from the countries that are fighting. And you notice that it's going to impact the families because chances are they have relatives that are fighting in this world war. So when Germany starts this whole thing in a couple of slides, you're going to notice that our feelings towards German Americans are going to be drastically shifted. And at the end of all this war, you're going to notice both literally and figuratively, the world is going to change. And most importantly, somebody's going to be really upset with how World War One ends, and he's going to be the main reason why World War Two begins in all due time. So the simple way to put how the World War One started was MANIA, the acronym that means militarism, alliances, nationalism, imperialism, and assassination. So at the end of this, I'm going to ask you the 5 questions that revolve around each one of these. So please make sure you're paying attention so then that way you know and you can recognize which one is which. So the one thing that's worth noting is that one singular one of these does not lead to war. All of this happens in the span of about 20 some years, and they finally just kind of all hit the fan at one time. And that's why World War One started. So let's get to going. So first one out of the gate is militarism. You're going to notice that this is simply put, they are preparing themselves for war. And who's leading the charge during this time is Germany. They're manning people, they're building up their armies, they're building up their navies. And we kind of talked about this with imperialism of why you need a military. If you're going to be taking over a bunch of land, you need to be able to back it up. If you're going to bark, you better bite. And they are taking over large portions of Africa. So they feel like they need this. And they all kind of had the mindset of it's not if war breaks out, but it's going to be when, because of those hard feelings that imperialism is going to be kind of creating during the time. And they actually had their hand in a lot of early military technology. And you can see the list of things there with machine guns, artillery tanks, submarines, airplanes, and they're going to kind of be leading the charge. So you're going to notice that the next one is alliances. And simply put, this would be the safest way of saying it. I got your back. So it's just like in most fights today. If something breaks out, you promise to get my back. Yep, I got you. And you're going to notice that 2 distinct sides are going to be formed fairly early. You're going to have the Triple Alliance, which includes Germany, Austria-Hungary, Italy. And then you're also going to have the Triple Entente, France, Russia, Great Britain, and eventually down the road in lesson 5, we're going to join this side. We have very strong alliances with France. We have very strong cultural ties with Great Britain, so it only makes sense. So you're going to notice that when you have all of these people that are pledging to have your back, it's going to be real easy to start a war. The N stands for nationalism. If I had to use a different word to describe this, it would be like patriotism, where you think your country is the best, you're going to do anything for it. And this is going to be a reason why another cause is going to happen in terms of an assassination. But from this way, nationalism, again, you think your country is the best, and this is going to cause rivalries or hatred. And when usually we see hatred or rivalry blowing up at some point, and this is all going to start basically between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. Okay, so you can see Austria-Hungary is the bigger country on the top here. Serbia is this green country in the middle. Somebody from Serbia is going to go into Austria-Hungary and they're going to do some assassination or an assassination of a leader. So 2 tiny countries led to the whole world basically getting inside of this First World War. I, imperialism, something we've already talked about. There's different specific stretches in Europe that are going to be under scrutiny. You can see this red circle around this map here, and I don't know how to pronounce that French name, but it's right there. That's going to be a constant struggle between France and Germany, and really it just served as a buffer zone between the two countries to have that kind of warning, I guess, if one side were to come to the other side. But we've talked about imperialism in lessons one, two, and three. It should not be a real big surprise. However, one thing I have not mentioned is when one country is taking over other countries are going to get jealous. An example of which, Germany. Germany is super jealous that France and Great Britain are basically taking over all parts of Africa, and they wanted a piece of the pie as well. So it caused hard feelings. And then last one, as I mentioned before, is an assassination. So in the picture here, this is Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife. He is the second in command of Austria-Hungary, and he is going to be the one that gets the assassinated. And you're going to notice that because of that nationalistic pride that the assassin had, he basically felt like he had to do this. And he was a member of a mob called the Black Hand, and they basically wanted to restore balance to Serbia. So when this all kind of blows up is when Austria-Hungary, with a level head, asks Serbia for assistance and to find the assassin and bring him to justice. However, it doesn't happen. And then therefore you're going to notice a trickle down, or you're going to notice the domino effect is going to go into place, because since the alliances were in place, and you can see them all right here, where Germany had Austria-Hungary's back, they declared war on Serbia. And then you're going to see Russia is going to declare war on Germany and Austria-Hungary because they had Serbia's back, and then right on down the line. So why did World War One start is a very complex thing. However, you saw a lot of causes listed in this presentation. So when the smoke is clear, here are the two distinct sides, which I have already mentioned. So why does this matter is because these are going to also be reasons why the United States is going to get involved in lesson 5. So here are the questions that I want you to think about. Number 1, a country that is building up their army, military, artillery, or products of war would be an example of which cause I described. A country that is proud of their country or show extreme patriotism is an example of. If a country A takes over multiple smaller, weaker countries, and country B is jealous of country A, that shows which cause described in this presentation. If someone were to kill a leader of another country, that would be an example of. A country that pledges to protect another country during a time of war is an example of. And then lastly, the US was involved in World War I from the start. True or false?